This is only going to be a brief commentary here for Stuart Gordon's 1995 Castle Freak. The relationship with Lovecraft here is dubious at best. It was actually inspired by apparently a poster for a film that hadn't been made yet, which had the title Castle Freak on it, a Quasimodo, Hunchback of Notre Dame-esque figure in a dungeon being whipped by a beautiful woman. Stuart Gordon saw this on the producer Charles Band's office wall, and Stuart Gordon wound up making the film. There's a Lovecraft short story called The Outsider. The Outsider? There's a story with a chap, and he finally escapes from a dungeon, and he finds everyone running away from him. And without spoiling the story, it has nothing to do with what happens in this film. The film is much closer to the poster for that film that hadn't been made yet on Charles Band's wall. What we do have is a film with phenomenal performances from Jeffrey Combs and Barbara Crampton, very able direction, solid, very, very absorbing gothic atmosphere, fairly one-note plot, but what amounts to an interesting, an admirable film that makes you feel as though you haven't wasted your time. At least for me. I know that there are non-horror / Stuart Gordon aficionados who enjoyed Castle Freak. If I remember correctly, Noel Oakeshott, like way back when, told me he saw Castle Freak and enjoyed it, and actually it helped him become more of a Stuart Gordon fan over time, if I remember correctly. I apologise to Mr. Oakeshott if that's not true, and that's some accidental slam. I'm pretty sure he likes From Beyond. I'm sure we've talked about that. And I remember when I watched Edmund for the first time, he was with me, along with a couple other chaps. But what we have ultimately, as I said, a reasonably effective film. I don't think it is one of the greatest, very best films that Stuart Gordon made, although one of the better ones. I like most of Stuart Gordon's films, frankly. Maybe it's something of a homage to the tone of those old Poe Corman films, of which obviously the Lovecraft adaptations initially stem from. The Haunted Palace, 1963, we talked about this. And I think it's a very good take on that. There is some gore and splatter, which you wouldn't have seen in those films, obviously, although it's not quite as extravagant or ludicrous as some of Stuart Gordon's other films, despite its gore is more understandable given the nature of the plot. It does get excessive sometimes. There is one scene or two. I'm not going to lie. Castle Freak is silly, inane, almost purposeless, but its entertainment and value and the amount of enjoyment I can get from it whilst viewing it, and apparently other people have as well, I think that gives it some purpose, I feel anyway. For recognisable horror tropes very effectively realised, predictably so but admirably so, try Stuart Gordon's Castle Freak if you're so inclined.